Well, this is the first time I've played in Manhattan in a while, so, you know, and 2013 has been an eventful year, and I think it's fair to say that this song especially requires no introduction. Anthony Weiner takes pictures of his wiener and sends them off to lots of women that he's never met. Normally I wouldn't care about some guy's pubic hair, except in this case it's a politician we can hopefully soon forget. He wants to make New Yorkers proud and show he's very well endowed to be the mayor of the city from which he sends his tweets. He's a good Democrat. He'll go up to bat for the people of New York and the random women that he greets. Anthony Weiner's wiener, these days it's all the rage. To find out more about his wiener, just take a peek at the front page. It's a sing-along, but I know we have some great singers in here. I probably wouldn't give a shit about his adolescent wit, whether he was sexting after he resigned from Congress or before. I may not like his style as he issues his denial, but what really bugs me is he voted for the war. Now Anthony Weiner's wiener, these days it's all the rage. To find out more about his wiener, just take a peek at the front page. Now that it's the second scandal, maybe we can pull the handle and send Anthony and his wiener down some flushing drain and await the politician next, who will send a penile text, one vile politician down, but far too many still remain. Anthony Weiner's wiener, these days it's all the rage. To find out more about his wiener, just take a peek at the front page. The rents are too high in this city. Just in case you didn't notice, huh? The patroons came from Holland to America, became landlords where none had been before. Soon one man owned 500,000 acres on both sides of the Hudson River shore. He invited families to move in and give him 30% of everything they grew every year. This is how they pay the rent. His name was Rensselaer. He became one of the richest men on earth. In today's terms, $90 billion is how much he'd be worth. All this for doing nothing but saying all of this was his. I have the power of the state behind me, and I'm in the landlord biz. After 200 years of this and one revolution won, another Rensselaer had another son, and this Rensselaer was greedier than his ancestors dead and past. It was the 1840s, and things were changing fast. It was the straw that broke the back. The bottle was uncorked. They started organizing meetings, the tenant farmers of New York. They found the strength of numbers, found the power of suggestion. They found each other asking the same question. Who gave you the right to be a landlord? To live a life of ease while others toil? Who gave you the right to be a rich man while the rest of us pay you so we can work this soil? They vowed they would stop the rent collection. They vowed they'd bring this madness to an end. And when one blew the tin horn of distress, he soon found he had 1,000 friends with calico skirts, masks upon their faces, on horseback, armed with knives and guns. They chanted and they yelled and they kept their farms and they kept the sheriffs on the run. They asked, who gave you the right to be a landlord? To live a life of ease while others toil? Who gave you the right to be a rich man while the rest of us pay you so we can work this soil? governor's militias tried to stop them, but nothing could be done to break their will. And by 1848, the landlords buckled, sold their holdings to the farmers in the hills. Yes, they overthrew this feudal system, but it's replaced now by speculators and banks. And you can still hear the homeless families asking of all the landed gentry in our ranks, who gave you the right to be a landlord, to live a life of ease while others toil? Who gave you the right to be a rich man, while the rest of us pay you so we can work this soil? Who gave you the right to be a landlord, to live a life of ease while others toil? Who gave you the right to be a rich man, while the rest of us pay you so we can work this soil? Who gave you the right? In France, and I thought, oh, this is cool. I got a gig in France. Maybe they're learning English, and not that they should, you know, but it's nice if they do because I don't speak French. And then I get to the gig, and they're all Dutch. There's like nobody from France. It's all Dutch people, which is fine. They're lovely people, Dutch people generally, and they all speak English. So I figure, okay, well, now I understand why I got this gig, because they're all Dutch. And buying a French chateau is cheaper than buying a equivalent amount of land in Holland would be outrageously expensive. And they have this Peace Institute, which is mainly where they meditate. And they bring in, they fly indigenous people from around the world to teach white Dutch hippies how to meditate, basically is the idea, which is fine. I'm sure that indigenous people can use the work. But it's like a strange atmosphere for me, you know. I'm sort of a recovering hippie, so it's like a little, you know, it's a little uncomfortable for me. But as I was walking down a path, and it was beautiful. It was gorgeous, a lovely vacation in the French countryside. And I'm walking down this path, and this Dutch hippie stops me on the path, and he says, you know, 10 million people with sledgehammers could change everything. I thought, yeah, right, fucking on, you got it. You nailed it. That's exactly the point. I watched it on the TV. Machine guns, fire towards the ground. I watched the people run. Helicopter gunship, strafing the street. I watched them lining up the bodies in the Baghdad heat. They say these leaks had consequences, and I must agree. When I saw them fire on the children, it affected me. I thought, what if I were wearing the other shoe? And if I had a hammer, what would I do? I am just a person, like anyone. I am just another mother's son. I have no special powers. I cannot fly, not like that helicopter gunship up in the sky, sending all those bullets all around to the journalists and children on the ground. I am just one man, that's very true. But if I had a hammer, what would I do? Sometimes I try to wonder, why should I care? But then the answer seems so obvious. There are people down there. And right here in Queensland, There's an army base. There's a helicopter gunship just sitting in place. There's a time for watching. There's a time to act. It's just gonna kill more children if it remains intact. I am just one person, but you are too. If you had a hammer, what would you do? If you had a hammer, what would you do? Here we are, so close to Wall Street. Iceland is an island with 500,000 or so Vikings, mostly known for volcanoes, hot springs and fishing, known for its welfare state for being good and socialistic, certainly not known for being corrupt or nepotistic, but in the USA and Europe, they were deregulating banks. Iceland's politicians took bribes and joined their ranks. Soon you had a situation one would think just couldn't be. A bank whose debt was worth 10 times the country's GDP. When Wall Street imploded, sure enough it spread. Banks all over the world were floating in the red. All over the world, governments made the plan to cut spending and raise taxes on the working woman and working man. The banks were bailed out while the people had to pay. But in Iceland, people thought there must be a better way, and the earth stood still a moment. Fear was struck in every toff when Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers to fuck off. That's the chorus. Folks were in the streets in Reykjavik and just couldn't be ignored. They said this is a debt we Icelanders can't afford. Let's guarantee deposits of all our people, yes indeed. But as for all the speculators motivated by their greed to make really dumb investments, to them Iceland said good luck. Sorry for your losses, but we don't really give a fuck. The 1% all trembled when they took away the trough. When Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers to fuck off. Lovely harmonies, I love it. God. The UK called them terrorists, said we cannot let this stand. Who do these peacenik blondes think they are in Iceland? They threatened isolation and economy in flames. But the Icelanders said sorry, but the banks can settle their own claims, though that might be harder for them now that they're under house arrest. Or else they fled the country as they were most unwelcome guests. And now Reykjavik's recovery just makes the fat cat sputter and cough, since Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers to fuck off. If you haven't heard of this example, perhaps there's a reason why. The owners of the world don't want this kind of shit to fly. They say we all must pay up in this shakedown by the mob if we can't afford to pay the rent, cause we don't have a job. They say it's not their problem. If we're forever shackled by their debt, we must save the 1% from the fate they should have met. But there is an alternative, though it makes the fat cat scoff, that Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers to fuck off. Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers to fuck off. I was just in Ireland, and on my way I was in a plane, which is the usual way to get there, and these days, and I was watching movies, which is when I get to watch movies mainly in planes, and these days, thanks to technology, there's sometimes actually good movies in the planes, because if you have like 150 movies to choose from, you're bound to find at least one good one in there, and there was. And I saw Fruitvale Station, which is beautiful. this song. There was a man, had a little girl. She was his one and only daughter. Not every oyster has a little pearl, but this one did. They lived by the water on the eastern side of San Francisco Bay, where the mountains meet the ocean. Together there they would greet the day by Fruitvale Station. Now the trains seem louder than they used to be, there by the Oakland ocean side. When you look out at the horizon now, what do you see since the day your daddy died? Dropped her off at school for the day, looked for work, tried to make some money. Obstacles, roadblocks in the way. In this land, milk and honey. Dad and Mom went out one winter night. Their only plan to greet the new year. Fireworks and blunts, it's only right. Till 2009 was here. They were coming back from the celebration on a train that rode beneath the rising tide. They got off at Fruitvale Station on the day your daddy died. They just wanted to go home and go to bed. They stepped off the train onto the platform. Punches thrown, angry words were said. Then came the men in uniform, face down, cuffs behind his back. No way to fight or run. That's the time the cop chose to attack. That's when he fired his gun. Prayers were prayed as the sun rose, and how his mama cried. Time stood still and the world froze on the day your daddy died. On the day your daddy died. Aren't they fracking in New York now? Are they fracking? Or they're trying to frack? They want to frack. There's an oil boom. Prairies are on fire. Shale gas. All the fuel you might desire coming out so fast. No time to lay pipeline, Eurekaville. It's like the days of '49, except this time they're using massive rigs that poison everything more thoroughly. The deeper that it digs, trains a mile long, loaded up in rail cars, send them west, send them east, past cafes, schools, and late night bars. There's an oil train coming through your town. And there were dangers They knew this from the start, but they were minimal, they said, and everyone must play their part and risk the destruction of their cities. Each time a train rolls by, hope it won't derail and detonate sky high. There's an accident each day somewhere, but we're not supposed to fear that it could happen here. Listen closely. Do you hear that whistle blow? Look out the window. Do you see the fire glow? There's an oil train coming through your town. It was after midnight on a Saturday night. A resident called in that a rail car was alight with that much gas. Sitting by the lake, it was no one's job to watch the car that maintained the brake on 73 massive tanks of fracking gas down the hill, gaining speed as they rolled past. Now at the music cafe that once was on Rue Frontenac, there are 50 customers and employees who won't be coming back. There's an oil train coming through your town. There's an oil train coming through your town. Just a few days ago, I had a gig in Dublin, and in Dublin, the better anarchists have come to Dublin, and it took them a while, you know. They don't really have a far right in Ireland, but they now have a far left. I think Ireland is like one of the only, maybe the only country in all of Europe that does not have an organized far right group. There's no organized racist presence in Ireland. What's that?
So you gotta go to the north for that.
Oh, well, there's that, yeah. In the Republic, yeah, there's, yeah. But they now have a social center that I played at, when there's lots of nice people, wonderful folks, but the general atmosphere was oppressive. I don't drive a car because they run on gas, but if I did, it'd run on biomass. I ride a bike or sometimes a skateboard, so fuck off all you drivers and your yuppie hordes sitting all day in the traffic queues. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't eat meat, I just live on moldy chives or the donuts that I found in last week's dumpster dives. Look at you people in that restaurant, I think you are so sad when you could have been eating bagels like the ones that I just had. I think it is a shame all the bourgeois things you do. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't wear leather and I like my clothes in black, and I made a really cool hammock from a moldy coffee sack. I like to hop on freight trains, I think that is so cool. It's so much funner doing this than being stuck in school. I can't believe you're wearing those brand new shiny shoes. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't have sex, and there will be no sequel because heterosexual relationships are inherently unequal. I'll just keep on moshing to Anti-Flag and Crass until there are no differences in gender, race, or class. All you brainwashed breeders, you just haven't got a clue. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't believe in leaders, I think consensus is the key. I don't believe in stupid notions like representative democracy. Whether or not it works, I know it is the case that only direct action can save the human race. So when I see you in your voting booth, then I know it's true. I'm a better anarchist than you. I am not a pacifist, I like throwing bricks, and when the cops have caught me and I've taken a few licks, I always feel lucky if I get a bloody nose, because I feel so militant and everybody knows. By the time the riot is all through, I'm a better anarchist than you. I'm a better anarchist than you. I'm deeply in love with a man in Moscow. A secretive government had a secret operation, massacring villages, killing millions, secretly bombing an entire nation. They wiretapped a hotel room, got caught, and the government was deposed because of secret documents Daniel Ellsberg exposed. One government came down to prevent a repetition of this fact. The next government passed the Freedom of Information Act. Each administration since then hoped it would go away. Then they finally seized the chance on a September day. They passed the Patriot Act before a single congressman had read it. But don't ask the executive how they interpret it, because that itself is secret, never to be revealed, just like their secret prisons and all the torture they concealed. Then they formed the PRISM program so they wouldn't even have to ask compliant corporations to assist them in the task of collecting information. Every email you ever wrote, every book you ever read, every call you ever made, everything you ever said. I looked into a prism. What did I see? A police state looking back at me. The secret government men lied to congressional committees. Secret information even a senator can't see. Secret bureaucrats working with secret corporations, enforcing secret laws, forming secret juries to serve a secret cause. I looked into a prism. What did I see? A police state looking back at me. One brave man came forward and then he fled town. Now the secret government men mean to hunt him down. Feinstein says he's a traitor. McConnell said so too. But I'd say if we have a future, it's because of the whistle that he blew. I looked into a prism. What did I see? A police state looking back at me. I looked into a prism. What did I see? A police state looking back at me. So I was in Ross Trevor in County Down, lovely place in Ireland. I was staying with Tommy Sands, and Tommy is a wonderful songwriter, and so is both of his brothers, Colum and Ben, and they live in a place that used to be the horse stables for an extremely wealthy man named Robert Ross, who comes from the Ross family, after whom the town of Ross Trevor was named, after it was stolen from the indigenous inhabitants. And Tommy, Tommy's been real active in trying to find a solution to the entrenched problems of the North there for a long time, and writing songs, and one of the funnier things he does that's kind of like might seem odd from an outside perspective, but is trying to let the Protestant population know that it's okay for them to be Irish and to play Irish music, and he sort of introduces music to the community, and feels like that's one of the most useful things he could be doing, and in this kind of position, he's because the Protestants in the North have been told for a long, long time that they are not supposed to be playing Irish music, and that they're not Irish, and they can't be part of these traditions, and they basically just have a flag, which is not much to go on, really. And so he feels kind of bad for them, basically, because the Catholics get to have all this rich cultural traditions that the Protestants were surrounded by growing up, but aren't allowed to actually engage in. Although so that's changing a bit. There's some Protestant kids learning to dance and play music, and some of them doing it very well, in fact. And sometimes at random times in the night they'll show up at Tommy's house, just to play the penny whistle for him and see if he approves of their abilities to play, because they need his approval. And so he gets asked to do strange things, and the town council in Ross Trevor asked him if he would write a song about General Robert Ross, and there's a very large phallic monument to General Ross in the middle of Ross Trevor, and so and he lives there and everything, and lives in the former stables of the Ross family. So he thought, they thought they could ask him to write a song about the guy, and he was trying hard to think of some kind of redeeming aspect that the guy had to write a song about him, because he didn't want to just write a song like trashing the guy. He wanted find something nice to say about the guy, and just couldn't come up with anything. And which is, you know, pretty impressive, because Tommy is good at coming up with nice things to say about not nice people. I mean, he, you know, really has. I mean, he tells stories about David Irvine that are really, you know, really charming. You know, which is the leader of the UVF, but he, so, you know, he couldn't come up with anything, and he told me about this, and I thought, that's, you know, I can't resist a challenge like that. So, you know, the U.S. invaded Canada and burned York to the ground. That was the idea. York, which is now Toronto, the idea was to liberate Canada by burning their capital city to the ground, which did not endear the Americans to the Canadians for some strange reason, and they just didn't feel liberated by that. And it's a common tactic, you know. That's the way the U.S. tends to liberate, you know. Well, burn down your cities and then see if you like it. And Robert Ross was from Ross Trevor. He was born in County Down. His family was given land there by the British Crown. He was a man born of the gentry, born with wealth and fame, but he joined the British Army to serve his queen and make his name. In the Napoleonic Wars, he fought in many lands, in Holland and in Spain, in the far-off Egyptian sands. He was wounded there in battle, came back to fight another day, and he was sent off to attack the USA. York had been sacked and burned by invading Yankee men, but the Canadians regrouped, chased the Yankees home, and then the British Navy made its way to the shores of D.C. town, where General Ross burned the White House down. The year was 1814, the U.S. was in retreat. It was a Canadian victory, an American defeat. Without the French to help them, they got their ass whipped by the Crown when General Ross burned the White House down. The place had just been constructed only 12 years before, but it had to be rebuilt soon after this disastrous war. The president turned tail and ran like a raggedy clown when General Ross burned the White House down. He was killed a few months later. Irish rebels stopped him in his tracks. He was buried in Nova Scotia in the town of Halifax. He might have been forgotten, but he'll forever be renowned. He's the man who burned the White House down. He's the man who burned the White House down. This is a true story. My name is John Riley. I'll have your ear only a while. I left my dear home in Ireland. It was death, starvation, or exile. When I got to America, it was my duty to go, enter the army and slog across Texas to join in the war against Mexico. And it was there in the pueblos and hillsides that I saw the mistake I had made. Part of a conquering army with the morals of a bayonet blade. And there amidst all these poor dying Catholics, screaming children, the burning stench of it all, myself and 200 Irishmen decided to rise to the call. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied, so we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We marched neath the green flag of St. Patrick, emblazoned with Erin Golbra, bright with the harp and the shamrock and Libertad para la Republica. Just 50 years after Wolfe Tone, 5,000 miles away, the Yanks called us a legion of strangers, and they can talk as they may. But from Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied, so we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We fought them in Matamoros, where their volunteers were raping the nuns. In Monterrey and Cerro Gordo, we fought on as Ireland's sons. We were the red-headed fighters for freedom amidst these brown-skinned women and men. Side by side, we fought against tyranny, and I dare say we'd do it again. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. Lovely. We fought them in 5 major battles. Churubusco was the last. Overwhelmed by the cannons from Boston, we fell after each mortar blast. Most of us died on that hillside at the service of the Mexican state. So far from our occupied homeland, we were heroes and victims of fate. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. Beautiful. I remember when we met, surrounded by police. It was the one block in the city where protest was allowed, and they were there to keep the peace. You said, "Hey, my name is Brad, and I think we surely will mess up these meetings. These jokers will remember us in the city on the hill. I'd see you at the rallies, guitar on your knee. The calm inside the storm, from Prague to San Francisco, Miami to DC. We traveled on the same roads. You were everywhere, with a smile on your face, in the redwood forests or the streets of Tompkins Square. I'll go down to the water, and with the morning dew, I will watch the sunrise, and I'll smoke this joint for you. I can see you on a bicycle, reclaiming the street, digging up the asphalt to plant a bandit garden and grow some food to eat. I got an email from Quito. You said, "You've got to see this place. Everyone is rising up. Come and see the future of this lovely human race." I'll go down to the water, and with the morning dew, I will watch the sunrise, and I'll smoke this joint for you. The last time that I saw you, it was in New York town, sitting on a rooftop, talking about relationships and how to live them down. I heard you went down to Oaxaca to join the battle that was there. I saw your picture in the paper with a bullet in your chest and your eyes a distant stare. I'll go down to the water, and with the morning dew, I will watch the sunrise, and I'll smoke this joint for you. I'll go down to the water, and with the morning dew, I will watch the sun rise, and I'll smoke this joint for you. Nothing's changed for me. When I see your face, I see the dawn, and like you, it's filled with grace. When I look into your eyes, I see all that I have known. I see a red sunrise and the kindness you have shown. Nothing's changed for me. Now when I think about those days, I feel a tremble in my knee, and my impression never fades. Oh, to touch your golden skin and the fullness of your smile, I bemoan the state I'm in, and I love you all the while, 'cause nothing's changed for me. And like everybody here, I'm so glad that you could make it. It's so good to have you near. For your words I laugh and cry, and as I look around I'm sure I'm surrounded by your lovers, only one of many more. But nothing's changed for me. I still yearn for your embrace. Sometimes I close my eyes, and then I gaze upon your face. I know everything must end, but I remember our last kiss. I recall your parting glance, and there's so much more I miss. 'Cause nothing's changed for me, except you went away. You're moving on, and I'm stuck in yesterday. So I'll wish you all that's good, and I'll make a toast for you, for all the places you may travel, and for whatever you may do. 'Cause nothing's changed for me. I'm still in love so much, I know I'll be okay, but I miss your gentle touch. There are songs for victories, songs for things that fall apart. This is just a song for my broken heart. I don't know, you know Laura Poitras, the fantastic documentary maker, now living in Berlin because she can't live here. Because in Berlin they respect privacy laws a lot better than here. And they have a certain aversion to keeping lists on people for some strange reason in Germany. You know, every time she flies into the US, she gets all her digital everything copied, and she gets detained for hours and hours and questioned. But one time she flew into New York, and she had a nice customs and immigration agent for a change, and this guy was like, whoa, you score 400. 400 out of 400. And so she didn't know. I don't know if anybody knew that there was this system of scoring, you know, but I mean, obviously the immigration agents knew it, but I don't think they're generally supposed to tell people, you know. But so then she found out she scored 400 out of 400, which was why she was always getting problems crossing into the US. And I had a similar experience crossing into Canada. It wasn't like a 400-point score, you know, it was like, I don't know what the score was, but I was crossing into Canada in 2002, trying to get to the G8 protests in Alberta, and it's a very rural area, western Montana, you know, southern Alberta. There's not all that many people around there, and so the agents at the border don't get a whole lot of action, you know, other than like grandma and grandpa in the RV, and you know, so it's like, you know, they're not really used to terrorists and stuff, So the guy, you know, and they're bored. They actually, you know, they're actually sitting there much of the time with nothing to do. You know, you can watch the border, and like There's like not much traffic, you know, at all. And so I got there, and the guy was like, "Oh, hey, it's a person," you know. And so, you know, we started talking about music, and it turns out that he plays a Martin guitar, and I had a Martin guitar at the time. And then it turns out that he really likes a lot of musicians in Boston, and I used to live in Boston. So, you know, we struck up a conversation about Boston and music and guitars, and I think we developed an admiration for each other after about 15 minutes or so, and I wasn't in any rush to cross the border, and I wasn't sure if I would be able to cross the border. So I was really glad to meet a nice guy at the border, and glad to be bonding with him. And he said, "Well, okay, well, so, you know, we just got to search your car because we're searching everybody's cars," and that was true. You know, they were searching Grandma and Grandpa in the RV. I saw that. You know, they were surprised. They don't normally get searched, but they were searching everybody's car because of the G8 protests, and so he said, "Oh, we'll just have to search your car, and then assuming we don't find any weapons or masks or anything that you're not supposed to have, then we'll just let you through." So they found no weapons or masks, but then the guy was really nervous when I came back to him, you know, after waiting in the waiting room and stuff while they were searching my car, and he said, "You're on a list here," and he showed it to me. He showed me the printout that came out of the computer, which I'm sure he wasn't supposed to do, and it was basically like, this guy, you know, is a terrorist, more or less, and you should find a reason to turn him away, although it didn't say anything about me having a arrest record or anything like that. It said, you know, you should find a reason to turn this guy away. It didn't say turn him away, it said find a reason to turn him away, so I guess he knew he was supposed to find a reason to turn me away, and even though there was none, he said he just tried the honest approach and said, "I'm afraid I'll lose my job if I don't turn you away." And so he said, "You can't come in, and if you try to come in anywhere on the Canadian border over the next 8 days while the protests are going on, you will be detained until the end of the protests. So don't try it." He said, "They all have your picture everywhere." I felt kind of, you know, like somebody cared about me, actually. You know, it was nice, you know, because, you know, you wonder if you're having any kind of an impact. You know, you put out a record and like you sell a couple hundred of them. It's like, well, you know, maybe I should just do something else. But at least the intelligence agents are paying attention. So I felt like, you know, vindicated a bit. I mean, it was pretty obvious that this was a list coming from the U.S. and that I was now on a Canadian watch list. And then I found out the hard way that there was a treaty from the late 1940s. This lawyer told me about that the U.S., Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and Great Britain are all part of this treaty. They share everything. They share everything, all intelligence information. And so just in case you're on a watch list on one of those countries, now you know you're on a watch list on all 5 of those countries. Just, you know, it's just to save you the trouble in case, you know, that is. And so I got this phone call in Japan while I was about to board a flight to New Zealand. And they said, "We've been reading your blog, and you are not welcome in this country." And you know, what are they doing reading my blog? You know, that seems unusual, and nobody else had heard of that before, so I felt really special. There are some advantages to being on whatever watch list I'm on, because for, like, I don't know how many years it's been the last time anybody sat next to me on a plane, you know, and it's not because I smell bad, it's because for whatever reason, there's always an empty seat next to me on the plane. And as you may know, flights now in the U.S., I'm bragging again, by the way. So flights now in the U.S. are usually full. You know, I mean, sometimes not, but usually they're full in the past few years because it's more, you know, they're losing money and whatever. So now they're like packing them, so it's, you know, so they're usually full. So I've actually noticed multiple times that I'm on a plane that is completely full. And sometimes I kind of mysteriously and suspiciously walk up and down the aisles just to confirm that there's no real short people that I'm missing, you know, and the full, completely full, and the only empty seat is next to me. And this is happening a lot, which is really nice, actually. You know, I mean, you know, I don't mind meeting people, but it's nicer to have more room to spread out. And so sometimes I have a whole row to myself, and the entire plane is full except for my row, and nobody sits next to me because they're so obedient or something. You know, I sometimes want to invite people. Just, you know, there's a free seat here. You can, and I don't know what this is about, but. Exactly. That's what I figure. You know, I mean, of course, we never know. It's like Kafka. They never tell you. But I believe it's the air marshal. If they're going to have an air marshal, he's going to sit next to me. And I don't think they have many air marshals because there's never anybody sitting next to me. So that was a very long-winded introduction to a song, which is shorter than the introduction, but that's how it goes. You know? I should be gigging in New Zealand now, but I'm not. I'm stuck at Narita instead. I should be singing in Dunedin, smoking kiwi pot and chilling with the Kiwi Reds. But when I showed up at the airport to board my flight, I was handed somebody's cell phone. Suddenly the future didn't look so bright and I entered the twilight zone. The woman on the line said, "Hello, I'm from immigration. You may have a ticket, but you can't go to our great island nation." I felt like I'd been hit in the face with a big old kiwi log, but then I felt the Stassi's cold embrace when she said, "I've been reading your blog. The spies are reading my blog, the introduction and the prologue, and if that's so, it just might be true that they're watching this video too." Well, I normally don't get many views, a few hundred friends and kooks, so it comes as surprising news that some of them are Kiwi spooks. I try to get my missives out and cause some small commotion. Someone's listening now, there's no doubt, across the South Pacific Ocean. The spies are reading my blog, the introduction and the prologue, and if that's so, it just might be true that they're watching this video too. "Were you strip searched in Trondheim?" she asked. "What kinds of things do you smoke? Have you ever been charged with a crime? Are you rich or are you broke? Have you ever been turned away from any borders you tried to cross? What kind of venues did you plan to play? Do you use dental floss?" I said, "It seems a bit unusual for you to do things quite this way." I asked her, "Is this normal?" But she wouldn't say, she'd just repeat her message. "At Narita you shall remain. I've read your blog, each vile passage, and you may not board that plane. The spies are reading my blog, the introduction and the prologue, and if that's so, it just might be true that they're watching this video too. They're watching this video too." Private Manning was an analyst, if what they say is true. She was paid to read reports, find the patterns sifting through. As she read the data, the patterns did emerge. Patterns that were clear both before and since the surge. Patterns of abuse of the most horrific kind. Gunning down civilians out of view and out of mind. Gunning down the opposition in the middle of the night. Sending off the scholars to be tortured out of sight. Sometimes you need desperate measures when you live in desperate times. Private Manning saw she was looking at war crimes. She wondered what to do to allow the dead to speak. She finally decided to contact WikiLeaks. Now it's all out on the table and everybody knows. The emperor is naked, he's not wearing any clothes. Now Adrian Lamo has to live within his skin. He stabbed Chelsea in the back, called the cops and turned her in. But not before the soldier took 500,000 files. If you printed all the pages, they'd stretch on for miles. Evidence against the state, right from the horse's mouth. Machinations in the west, bombings in the south. A treasure trove of details for all the globe to see. How much they need to lie and kill for democracy. How many drone strikes hit villages, leaving everyone to die. They blamed on someone else, the official line, not I. How many coups have been plotted by ambassadors who say that free and fair elections be the order of the day. Now it's all out on the table and everybody knows. The emperor is naked, he's not wearing any clothes. Now the genie's out of the bottle and they're trying to stuff it back. Stop it from illuminating everything we lack, such as the rule of law or playing by the book. Look, you can read it, it's right here. The ship of state is run by crooks and they vilify the messengers. Call them every name for daring to blow the whistle on the nature of their game. The game of telling lies and endangering the rest in order for the wealthy few to do what they do best. Dominate the world for the corporate elite. But now their cover's blown from their head down to their feet. And now the Stars and Stripes is looking much more like a rag. The lid is off the box, the cat's out of the bag. Now it's all out on the table and everybody knows. The Emperor is naked, he's not wearing any clothes. It's all out on the table and everybody knows. The Emperor is naked, he's not wearing any clothes. Thank you. Went to visit his father out of town, where he had moved to an upscale neighborhood. It rains a lot in Florida, and it was raining on that night, but everyone says exercise is good. He went out for a walk to the convenience store to go out and bring some candy back. But some people leave and they never come home. That night was a one-way track. For the neighborhood watchman was driving in his car on a rainy night, looking for a young man who might have a part to play in his personal race war. And what if this trolling vigilante, sowing terror on a racist whim, what if when he found this teenage boy, he instead had found a man more like him? What if things were different? Where would he be bound? What if Trayvon had stood his ground? When Zimmerman approached in an unmarked vehicle, when the high school student ran, what if instead he had stood there in the rain with his Skittles in his Arizona can? What if, trying to avoid a conflict with this cracker who was evidently messed up in the head, Trayvon had said, "I feel like my life's in danger," and he had shot this vigilante dead? What if things were different? Where would he be bound? What if Trayvon had stood his ground? Would this hooded youth be gingerly arrested, treated for his wounds, and then let free? Would he be hailed as a hero by the NRA, by Limbaugh, Beck, and Hannity? Would he be found not guilty by any jury in this country? Would he be allowed to keep his gun? Or would he be sitting in a prison cell watching pundits on the TV saying, "That kid really should have run"? What if things were different? Where would he be bound? What if Trayvon had stood his ground? Portland is a town that's in the news much of the time. There are a lot of vegans and there's very little crime. It's a nice, safe place to live. Folks ride bicycles a lot. The winters aren't so cold and the summers aren't so hot. They build houses out of cob. They hang out in the park, where you needn't worry about walking after dark. There are lots of homeless people, but they don't hurt no one. Just be careful of the boys in blue playing with their guns. Yeah, watch out for the cops. That's the chorus. Watch out for the cops. Watch out for the cops. Watch out for the cops. You can hang out with the punks with the piercings and tattoos. You can eat out at a food truck any neighborhood you choose. You can dance to Balkan music while you drink a microbrew, chilling in a gay bar with the mayor and his crew. But be careful what you say, be prepared to take some flack, especially for those who may be male, young and black. The fact is you do better in Sweet Home Alabama. You're safer there on the old streets of Birmingham. Yeah, watch out for the cops. Watch out for the cops. We got a siren? Watch out for the cops. Watch out for the cops. Watch out. Portland's full of roses, there are flowers everywhere, but for others they've got prisons with some nice electric chairs. You can go downtown, ride the buses there for free, but you never know when you'll get a DWB. A town full of progressives, but such a rotten bunch of cops. Who knows who'll get shot at the next routine traffic stop? When you live in a place like Portland, where they tend to act this way, you can just join the police force instead of the KKK. Yeah, watch out for the cops. 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 I'll do one more. Thank you all so much for coming, and thanks so much to Gene and the Musty Institute and everybody else who made this happen, the 6th Street Community Center. Wonderful to be back. This is your commercial break. There's CDs in the back of the room, and my landlord and my daughter and my dentist all appreciate your CD purchases. If you go to davidrovics.com, not only can you download all my songs for free and get on my email list there and other things, but you can also click on the subscribe button. If you are one of those increasingly less numerous people who are gainfully employed, and you click on the subscribe button, you can subscribe to me, which basically entails signing up to send me $50 a year, and in exchange you get lots of CDs in the mail and special exclusive digital things, and a laminated card that gives you free access to all my shows anywhere in the world, which you can impress your friends with. And so there's that. And that's my new strategy for surviving the 21st century. And so far, so good. I was in Florida when around the time that I wrote "Watch Out for the Cops," which is perfect because there's so many cops around. It was the Republican National Convention, so every time I sang that song, there was like a squadron of cops going by. You know, which was every time I didn't sing the song, there was a squadron of cops going by. But it was perfect backdrop. You know, hanging out with a whole bunch of New York City Occupy Wall Street folks, because there were like never more than 300 people at the RNC protests at any given time, and usually half of them were from New York City, because Occupy Wall Street has, you know, some money in the bank, and they have been using it to rent buses and then go to protests like in Florida, which was really good, because otherwise we would have had 150 people instead of 300, and 300 really felt like a pretty small number of people, but 150 would have felt even worse. And I don't blame people for not going to Florida in August during a hurricane, knowing that the town of Tampa would be shut down and they'd be surrounded by thousands of riot cops, you know. And the riot cops were clearly brainwashed, you know, because every time I was walking by, like wearing black, which was apparently a mistake, you know, they always assumed that I was like about to throw a bomb in their ranks, you know, and which you could tell by the way they looked at me, and you could also tell by the things they said to me, which was alarming, but not surprising. And there was an Occupy Wall Street activist who had come down from New York and was kind of, you know, fairly new at activism. So he was wondering, like, why are there thousands and thousands of riot cops who want to kill us, you know, here in Tampa? Like, you know, because this is like more riot cops than they even have in New York on a given day. And like, what's going on here? And is it because of us? Is it because of Occupy Wall Street? And I thought, well, yeah, kind of, but, you know, it does go back a bit further than that. And I thought, I think actually I can sum this whole thing up in 3 minutes. First, you have to have a problem. That part isn't hard. The second step is everybody realizing they're like you. They're holding the same card. Step 3 is finding there's a tactic when everyone believes it could be true. That if all the people work collectively, there just might be something we can do, and everything can change. So quick. Businessmen and congressmen and TV sets will try hard to make sure it isn't so. You don't have a problem. And if you do, it's not the same problem. And if it is, well, there's just nowhere you can go. But it's happened many times. The history is rich, though we easily forget how a meme can take hold and grab you, how it can spread out like a net, and everything can change. So quick. They'll say we are lost or we're dreaming, or they'll make a dream for us. They'll try to come up with a good story about why we belong in the back of the bus, about why we belong in this position, about how we don't know what we meant, about how there most certainly isn't any such thing as the 99%, but everything can change. So quick. Everything can change. So quick.